Hello friends and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Chris Orwig and I am a Sony artisan, a photographer, author, teacher, among other things. And in this tutorial, I want to share with you a technique of how we can improve the eyes inside of Lightroom using one of the selective adjustment tools. All right, well, if I click on this image to zoom in a little bit, we can see we have these beautiful eyes. I haven't done any retouching yet on this image, but I do want to work on the eyes. And one of the ways that you can do that is by using this tool right here. What this tool allows us to do is to draw a radial shape over an area and modify that. So here, I'll go ahead and select the tool. And then I'm going to start off just to exaggerate for a moment. I'm going to increase my exposure quite a bit. And I want to illustrate something here. So if I click and drag out, can you see how it's brightening this part of the image? Now, if we go down to the bottom, we can change the feather value. No feather means a really hard edge. Lots of feather gives us a really nice soft edge. So typically you want to have an edge, depending upon the effect, that has a little more softness than not. Now we can always change any of these values simply by using the sliders here. If you tap the H key, what you can do is show and hide the overlay graphics. If you find they're distracting, just tap the H key and it will hide those. Now, the other thing that I want to illustrate is that you can, of course, use all these sliders and adjustments, but then there's also a brush tool. So if I click on the brush tool, while we're inside of this, what we can do is we can change some brush qualities. And what I want to do is erase. So I'm choosing erase. I have my brush size here. I'll remove some of the feather, and the flow, I'll take that down a little bit as well. Now, as I paint over my adjustment, can you see how I'm painting it away in different areas? And I can go ahead and paint it away until it's just a small little slice even. In other words, you start off with a radial adjustment and then you customize it. Now, when it comes to eyes, that is really important. All right, so let's go ahead and make a new adjustment. For this adjustment, our recipe is going to be having actually quite a bit on our exposure. Then we're going to boost the shadows a lot. We'll bring our blacks up. And the reason why these values are so high is because next we're going down to dehaze. And dehaze tends to darken things, especially the blacks, a lot. But I'm going to bring this up into the 90s. So I'm bringing this way up, and then I'm also bringing up the saturation here as well. So our combination, exposure goes high, shadows go high, blacks, they go high, dehaze, crank that bad boy up, and then add in some saturation too. Now, will this recipe be perfect or right? Depends upon the eyes, the exposure of the image, etc. But it's a good starting point. And what we're going to do is click and drag out over the eye. And as I click and drag out, I want to get it to just the right size, and then tap the H key to hide that, and then experiment with that feather value, because you're going to need some feather value so that it has a nice soft edge to it. Next, we need to do is grab our brush. So I'm going to grab the brush, eraser brush, and maybe make this a little bit smaller here. And of course, I need to erase it away from the top of the eyelid. I'm decreasing my feather value there too. And I actually made a mistake. I was on the brush A, which adds to it. I need to be on the brush erase. And so let me go ahead and do that again, and maybe bring the flow up a lot. Now that I have a nice small brush, I'll go ahead and paint over that, and I'll remove it from the eyelid because the eyelid should not be glowing like it was. All right, well, now that we have all of that, we can start to experiment a little bit with some of our sliders and controls. I'm going to go ahead and test these out just a touch here. And as I work on these, what we can start to see is we have this really neat effect that we're bringing in. If you press the H key, that will bring back your overlay graphic. You can reposition it just where you want it. Now, the eye obviously looks like a cat eye, kind of crazy, kind of overdone. But here's what you do. Typically, you start high, and then you collapse this. So click on the triangle icon to collapse all your controls into a mount, and then customize how far you want this to go. If I go all the way down, it disappears. If I bring this up, I can find just the right amount for this image and for this eye. Now, once you have the right amount, you can then reuse that on the other eye. How do you do that? Well, if you right-click or control-click on an adjustment, there's a menu item which opens up, which is duplicate. So I'll duplicate this. I'll bring this over here. Now I'm going to bring it over to this eye over here. I need to do the same brush work as before. So erase, didn't bring over that for me, so I need to erase that top part of it. And then if I want this one to be a little less because it's a little bit more in the shadows, I can do that. Now, if I zoom out for a minute so that you can see more of the face and press the H key, because those overlay graphics, I mean, it's impossible to tell, right? You can get a sense on how this looks, and we can click on the flip switch to see our before and then click again to see the after. Now, because this is a tutorial, I've exaggerated my amount. If it were a photograph I was going to print or post or share, I would probably take these amounts down even more. So to do that, you just click on one of the adjustments, drop that down. And the reason why is with any kind of adjustment like this, you don't want the viewer to be so drawn into a specific area that it kind of overdoes it, right? So you want to try to find that nice spot for the image. And you want to zoom out too and see how that looks. And the great thing about this is you can customize it, and you can print an image and realize, oh, it's too subtle, or you can say it's too strong, or whatever it is, and you can change it. But I think right about here looks pretty good. Let me zoom in so that you can see what I'm talking about, and tap the H key. And then here I'm flipping that toggle switch so you can see that before and after. And then next, let me open up these controls so you can see how it brought all those values down. Can you see that? So I started really high, and then when you collapse them and drag the slider, it brings them down. If I bring this back up, you're going to see it brings all those sliders back. But it does it in a uniform way so they're equally decreased, so you can find just the right mix with what the look is that you're going for. All right, well, there you have it. A nice technique for improving eyes when you're working inside of Lightroom. Thanks for joining me in this tutorial. I hope you have a fantastic day today, and I hope to see you in another tutorial. Bye for now.